All right, let's get some perspective now on Time's Choice. Father Edward Beck is a commentator on religion and faith issues for CNN. Joins us now from New York, and good to see you. I first of all like to get your thoughts on how do you think the Pope will take this news?
Well, we've had a statement from the Vatican that said he's not looking for more honors or to be famous or to be recognized, but if it helps in the Church's mission of mercy, forgiveness, social justice, then he's happy to be named Person of the Year. What I find interesting, Michael, is, remember, this man entered onto the world stage only 9 months ago. So in the time that it takes to really deliver a baby, right, he has delivered us a new perception and image of the Church. Rather remarkable that he should be named Person of the Year after only 9 months of doing what he's doing.
But he has made a lot of changes, you say. What do you think has been the biggest one, if you could pick one?
I would say his reaching out to the alienated. From him on that plane, when he's talking about gay people, saying, "Who am I to judge?" To use the term gay was huge for many people. It saw a breakdown of a church that was known for thou shalt not to a more positive perspective of, well, maybe thou shalt. We're told that he's been reaching out to divorced and remarried people, talking about the whole issue of communion. So people who have felt separated and alienated are once again looking at this church and saying, maybe there is something here for me when there hasn't been, or I have felt there has not been for quite some time.
I suppose before he became Pope, the conversation when it came to the Catholic Church was pretty much dominated by things like the sex abuse scandal, perhaps the Vatican Bank. Now, those issues have not vanished by any means, but the conversation has changed. What more broadly, then, has been his impact on the Church and, importantly, the image of the Church globally?
Well, he seems to be wanting to handle the issues you mentioned as well. So he has appointed a commission on sexual abuse to look at that. It's going to report back to him. He has addressed the Vatican Bank scandal, a new commission. It's more transparent than it has been in years. But he seems to be saying the Church has to redirect its attention and its mission. So he's talking about mercy, compassion, social justice, inclusion. He's not talking about the specifics of contraception, abortion, gay marriage. He said that the Church for too long has obsessed about these issues and the real issues have been clouded. So he's trying to put the spotlight someplace else on a world stage where he says it needs to be.
And, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but it strikes me that this is also a Pope who practices what he preaches, that he doesn't, you know, sort of pontificate, for want of a better word, from the pulpit, but actually gets dirty, as he likes to say himself.
Yeah, he said not only does he want to get dirty, but his priests and those who minister in the Church should too. He wants them to smell like the sheep, is the metaphor that he used. So this is a man who refused to live in the Apostolic Palace, who drives around in a 20-year-old Renault, who in many ways, I mean, the cold calling is so interesting, isn't it? He actually, when he was Pope, as you'll recall, he called up his paper boy in Argentina to tell him, by the way, I'm not coming back, so make sure you cancel that paper. Now, he didn't think that was anything extraordinary, but he has continued to do that. He called a woman who was told they would not baptize her child in their church because she was not married. Now, she chose not to have an abortion, to have this child, and they weren't going to baptize the child. She wrote to the Pope. He said, well, you know, even though I'm Pope, I can do baptisms. I mean, this is what's remarkable. He's reaching out to people who felt they didn't have a place at the table, the Eucharistic table, and he's saying, well, maybe you do.
Yeah, and of course also telling priests to give communion to the divorce and other things like that, which I think are important to a lot of people in the Church. What can you predict might be next for this Pope? Because I suppose one of the beauties of the man is his unpredictability.
That is exactly it. I understand that people in the Vatican are really pulling their hair out because he's not easily managed and he does what he wants to do when he wants to do it. There was a report, it's unconfirmed. I tried to get confirmation from a Vatican official who didn't deny it, but there was a report that he was sneaking out of the Vatican with another priest and feeding the homeless and those who are hungry on the streets of Rome. Now, this is never something that he would point a spotlight on because it would look like, look, I'm doing this, you do it in secret, and you serve God and you serve the church. The Vatican official said to me, I won't say he's doing it, and I won't tell you he's not doing it. So I thought that was rather interesting, that we're going to see a man who's going to continue to do what he wants to do, but he's going to play really well on the world stage. He wants to get involved in the issues that matter to people. Look at even Syria. He entered that conversation by writing a letter to Putin saying, look, you're going to host all of these world leaders. You need to discourage any kind of military attack in Syria. So he's doing local stuff and he's doing global stuff. And I think you'll see him continue to do that.
And even though he's not touching a doctrine per se, he's certainly a man whose words are resonating with those perhaps disaffected when it comes to the church. I wish we could talk more, Father Edward Beck, but I'm sure we will again in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Michael.